are living in the worst of times. You know that book, I just thought of it, A Tale of Two Cities? It was the worst of times, it was the best of times. That is so true today. It's the worst of times because of all the abominations that have come into the SDA church. We've spoken about them before, but today I'm going to focus on 3 abominations that are in the headlines of SDA. One is Palm Springs SDA Church under Michael Leno displays gay pride on Sabbath as gay men's choir sings. So that's 1. 2, Oakwood's Leslie Pollard calls for revolution and blesses the LGBT and urges the SDAs to prepare for the coming of Caitlyn. That's the headline. And then the 3rd headline is First Open Transgender SDA Elder at the Hollywood Church, Pastor Stolz. So it's the worst of times because these abominations of gays, lesbians, transgenders are in the church, and they are not hiding. They're openly showing that it's okay to be gay, lesbian, etc. Now, we know that Yah is against anything that goes against his creation. That could include the Sabbath, that could include men aligned with men, women aligned with women, etc., etc. So I looked at these videos, and you can find them on Prophecy Again TV, where there's an actual video showing the transgender elder being brought up to the front and just hailed as a great person, etc., etc. So what I want to talk to you about today is not what everyone else is saying. How could this happen? When did this happen? Oh, let's just get Elder Ted Wilson to come in and fix it all, and let's get rid of it. Well, first of all, why is this happening? Let me tell you. Psalms 119:26. It says, "It is time for thee, Yah, to work, for they have made void thy law." This is why this is happening today, because Yah's people have allowed the Jesuit infiltration to take over the church and make void the law of Moses. Where else will you find the instructions that this is actually an abomination? Let's open our Bibles to Leviticus 8:22 and read 18:22, I'm sorry, what it says. It says, "Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is an abomination." So there's your proof. There's your Bible text that tells you Yah says man should not lie with man as with womankind. So he puts it very plain that even a first grader could understand what that means. But the problem is that Yah's people, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, when it was established, was to bring to its rightful place true worship. And so one of the first things that they found when studying was that the Sabbath was the Seventh-day Sabbath was the actual day of worship. See, there had been a whole time where there was a dark ages and people were being taught by the Catholic Church. Now, the Catholic Church isn't a Catholic Church. It's actually a false one world religion. So they pretended to be, a religion, and they said, we believe this and we're going to meet on Sunday, etc. But what they really did was they just blended 2 belief systems to control everybody. They brought in those who were pagans and sleeping. The Romans had, if you look in your history, look up what the Romans used to do. They used to think it was perfectly fine to go to the Roman bathhouses and they would have a child companion, a boy, and that was their sexual partner. So where do we see that? Let's see. We see that in the Catholic Church, that they're being accused of pedophilia, where the Roman Catholic priests are having sex with the young boys. Wow. The origins of that is the Roman system. Okay, the Romans did this. So for you to believe that the Catholic Church is a religion is for you to be blind. Okay, they have for always been telling people that it's okay to sleep with children. So in these last days, we're even seeing this, and they're even changing the mental names and mental states that they say. It used to be that if you slept with children and you were a pedophile, that it was in the DSM, that it was a mental problem or a mental, illness. Well, they're changing that, and they're saying that it's not really a mental illness, it's just a preference. Okay, so we see that this has the origins in the Roman culture. The Roman Catholic Church is just lying to you when they say they worship Jesus. They really worship Lucifer. Look it up. Do your research. Don't believe everything I say, but you need to look it up. Let's get back to this. The Adventist Church is asking, I saw the comments, there was 9,000 views on one of these videos that showed this transgender person, forget what he calls himself, but they have him up there dressed in women's garments. Now, where in the Bible does it say a man is not to wear women's garments? Let's look at Leviticus 22:5. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. For all that do so are abomination unto the Yah thy Yil. It's an abomination to Yah for a woman to wear man's clothing or a man to wear women's garments. So if you want your proof and you want to show someone that Yah is upset, Yah doesn't agree, Yah is against any of these things, you have to go to the law of Moses. Now the law of Moses, he was a scribe and he wrote down what the Yah said with his mouth. And what does the Bible say? It says about every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yah. So every word he spoke, Moses wrote it down in the book of the law. So if you want to know what the law is, you have to go to the law of Moses. The reason this has come into the SDA church is because they say that the law of Moses was abolished at the cross. Now, who teaches that? Who taught the Seventh-day Adventist pastors to believe that? It wasn't any messenger from Yah, but it was and is the Romans, or the Roman Catholic Church, because they say, and let me get the exact quote, it says, this is what the Catholics have in their own writings. This is where they explain the new law, okay? Not the Moses law, because they hate the Moses law, and anyone who teaches against the law of Moses, they hate Yah too. So the SDA church is going down this one road towards hell, which Ellen G. White says, O thou Capernaum, SDA, there'll be weighed in the balance and found wanting. She tells us that the SDA church is on that road. Okay, you don't want to believe it. You say, no, our church is going to make it to the end. But Revelation says that it gets spewed out. Okay, and this is what the Catholics teach. They say the new law has its own spirit and its own feasts, which have taken the place of those appointed in the law of Moses. They continue. If we would know the days to be observed, we must go to the Catholic Church, not to the Mosaic Law. And this is written by Cardinal Gibbons in the Catholic Catechism. So when SDA pastors teach that the law of Moses was abolished, and they now keep Christmas or Christmas, Halloween. There's nothing wrong with Halloween. There's nothing wrong with Valentine's. There's nothing wrong with our birthdays. Okay, all these feasts, these birthdays, these celebrations are in the Catholic Church. And when the SDA Church stopped continuing to study their Bibles for themselves and find out if it was true that the law of Moses was abolished, or is it true that only the sacrifices and the oblations were to cease? So not the days that you meet. If you look up the word feast in Hebrew, you're going to find the word moed, okay? And it means, well, first it comes from the word ya'ad. So we're going to look up moed and we're going to look up ya'ad, okay? So moed means an appointment, a fixed time or a season, specifically a festival, conventionally a year, by implication an assembly, a signal, appointed sign or time, a place of solemn assembly, the congregation, a solemn feast, appointed due season. So when we say we need meat in due season, that means that you're going to be getting truth on a feast day. So the word feast is moed. It's the Hebrew word for an appointment or a sign. And if you go to Genesis 1, he says these will be signs for you. Let's just go there because I'm not going to remember it totally by memory. So let's go to Genesis 1. Don't want you to not get the correct understanding. So it says, okay, Genesis 1:14, and Yah said, let there be lights in the firmament. So he is establishing already at the very beginning something about days and years and seasons, okay? And Yah said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs. Okay, for all of you who don't use signs, then you must not be a child of Yah, okay? Let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. So in the beginning, he sets a calendar and he says it's in the moon and how the seasons come and when the time is, and he sets up a calendar in the sky, right? So then when he wants to meet with you, he's going to tell you, meet with me on the day that there is a new moon. So when you learn when the new moon is, you know when to meet with him, because it says in Isaiah 66, from one new moon to the other, we're going to be worshiping him. So here we see that Yah has given us all his instructions in the Bible, okay? And the law of Moses was not abolished. There's no way, because had the law of Moses been abolished, then we wouldn't be caring if somebody was gay or lesbian, transgender, or all of that. But in the law of Moses, it says, thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It's an abomination. That was never abolished. The Catholic Church tells you that the law of Moses was abolished. It was not abolished. The SDAs who are being taught by the very Jesuits that you talk about, that you know about, but you don't understand, they are Jesuit taught. The Jesuits say that the law of Moses is no longer valid, that there's a new law with a new spirit. Well, who makes up the new spirit? Satan himself. So with his spirit, he's come into the SDA church because there's no standard. That's what people were saying. Oh, the standards have gone down. Well, yeah. Where does it tell you that you shouldn't wear jewelry? It was when Moses had all the people, Yah said, tell them to take their jewelry off. They're wearing jewelry. They're wearing makeup, which that came from Jezebel. And that's a way for us to so-called make yourself more attractive with red lips and fakeness. And y'all wants you to be real, okay? He created you beautifully. So jewelry comes into the church, makeup comes into the church, wearing men's clothes comes into the church, and here we go, folks. You've got transgender in the church, and they're okay with it. And for people to say, well, what is Ted Wilson going to do about it? Ted Wilson is part of it. Ted Wilson brought in spiritual formation. In September of 2001, he was the vice president of that committee. This is in our other videos. So when people say that Jesus is all about love, I would beg to differ, because in his own words, when people asked him questions, what did he say? Look in Luke 10:26. He said unto him, what is written in the law? How readest thou? He's talking about the law of Moses. So we are to keep the 10 Commandments, but the 10 Commandments doesn't have the remedy. The 10 Commandments doesn't tell us what days we're supposed to meet. It doesn't tell us how to get rid of our sins. So we need the law of Moses that says, meet with me on these days, because the sanctuary in heaven where Yasha, which you call Jesus, he's up there on these holy days, these holy times, these times that he set up, these appointments, the Moed, what I was just telling you about. This is when he meets with his people. This is where he tells you. This is where the standard is. This is where, when we say we've let down the standard, we never accepted the standard. We have believed the Roman Catholic lie that the law of Moses was abolished. The only thing that was put on that cross were all those people's sins. The priest kept a record of it. And anything that they had a witness against them, because they said, oh, how do I know if I've broken the law? Well, if you transgress sin is a transgression of the law. Sin is a transgression of the law of Moses, the law of Yah. He spoke these words, and Moses was the scribe. So this is why the church is in the position that it is today. It doesn't keep the law of Moses. It doesn't meet with Yah on the new moons, on the feast days 3 times a year, and it doesn't get any refreshing. It doesn't get any new truths. In fact, all the new truth that has been coming to the church after Ellen G. White, and even in our own day, we know that Jones and Wagner brought a message to the church, and the church leaders rejected it. Ellen G. White talks sternly against what the leaders did, and the leaders tried to get rid of her. If you believe in Ellen G. White, she has a couple of quotes talking about that after she leaves, there would be another messenger coming, one in the spirit of Elijah and one in the spirit of Joshua. So we know that after her death, there was to be at least 2 more. But how does Yah work? Yah works the way he worked in ancient times. He still works the same today. Malachi says, I am the Yah, I change not. Malachi 4. What else does Malachi 4 say? Let's go there. I'm going to go to Malachi. Your pastors have been preaching against Yah. And they will tell you that the 10 Commandments says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And so you go out and you feel so proud about yourself to tell everybody, oh, you're worshiping on Sunday. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to worship on the Sabbath. And it says, remember, in the 10 Commandments. But you know what? Malachi 4, let's go there. Malachi 4:4. For behold, we're going to go through the whole thing, because you know what? Yah wants you to know that if you don't want to burn as stubble, you better remember this. It says, for behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, all those proud SDA pastors who speak against the law of Moses, all those proud Jesuits in the church who are talking about transgenders, gays, because there's a pastor at Oakwood, his name is Leslie Pollard, and he's telling people to accept all the sin, that sin is great, that go ahead. Of course he's not going to say it like that, but he's saying that Caitlyn, prepare for the coming of Caitlyn. Well, do you know that there's a whole agenda to bring in a transgender Jesus, to have a second coming, and he's the transgender Jesus? So for all of you who are believing in the name Jesus, first of all, that is a Catholic name, Jesus. It comes from Jesus. So you better learn Yasha's name. It's Yasha. We have a whole study. You can go to that. Click on timesandlaws.com and start studying and finding out for yourself what has been held back from you by these Jesuits who brought down the standard. And if you say, well, no, we don't have to keep that old law of Moses, you know what? You believe what Ellen G. White says? This is what she says. In April 1, 1903, at the General Conference, she was talking about what had happened in Josiah's reign. Okay, Josiah, when he realized that they had done wrong, he went out and he cut down all the groves, all the places where they're having satanic worship. But let me tell you, this is what she says. These are Ellen G. White's words. In the 18th year of Josiah's reign, Yah chose him to superintend the repairing of the temple. We're living in this day when the true temple, the ones who are going to follow Yah all the way, his children, the 144,000 who sing the Song of Moses. Look up what the Song of Moses is. The Song of Moses is the book of the law of Moses. We have a study on this. If you want to be 144,000, Ellen G. White says to strive with all your heart to be one of them. You need to learn how to sing the Song of Moses. You need to know that the book of the law of Moses is the Song of Moses. This is huge. This is the last day. It's the worst times and the best times. The best times to find out truth, it's out here. She says, in the 18th year of Josiah's reign, Yah chose him to superintend the repairing of the temple. It was as this work was being done that the book of the law, okay, this very book that I'm telling you, that Leviticus 18:22, Leviticus 22:5, where it tells us man shouldn't lie with mankind and women shouldn't wear men's clothing and men shouldn't wear women's garments. That's the book of the law that was lost. Exactly. We are living in a type and an antitype. The book of the law was lost, and the SDAs have been, by some mismanagement, they lost it. Ellen G. White talks about it. Through some mismanagement, it had been lost, and the people had been deprived of its instruction. Brethren, this is what Ellen G. White says, have any of you lost the book of the law? Yes, we have. We lost the book of the law, and we're believing these Jesuits in our pulpits telling us we don't have to keep the book of the law. It was abolished at the cross. Well, no, it wasn't. Only the sacrifices and oblations were to cease. Have not many of us lost the sight of the precepts that are in the holy book? We have lost the sight of the precepts that are in the holy book. That's the standard that we are to raise so that people will know, is it appropriate to have a transgender elder in my church? Well, let me tell you, the SDA church, because of the abominations, read Ezekiel 8, all the abominations. Read what they're doing. It's all of this. It says in Malachi 4, it says, remember ye the law of Moses, my servant. Remember. Not just the Sabbath, but the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all of Israel. If you are modern Israel, the way Ellen G. White says, we are modern Israel, then you must keep the statutes and judgments. It says, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all of Israel, with the statutes and judgments. That includes the feast days. And you say, we don't have to keep them all feast days? Yes, you do. That's true worship. That's what the SDA church was brought to do, was to restore the daily, to restore true worship, to restore the Sabbath and all the other Sabbaths. She says, Ellen G. White says, we go out to proclaim the Sabbath more fully. How do we do that? We keep the feast days. There's more Sabbaths, folks. There's the new moon Sabbaths, and there's the feast day Sabbaths. And so those are the things that the Malachi is saying. Remember ye the law of Moses, my servant. And it says, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Yah. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. Well, who are the seed's fathers? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And what did they do? They kept the law of Moses. They worshiped. They came together on the feast days. If you are a true seed of Yah, you will see this. Your eyes will be open and you'll say, what? The Seventh-day Adventist Church has been hiding the standard from me? They, by some mismanagement, have left out the book of the law, the very precepts, the holy precepts that are in the holy book. Read General Conference Bulletin, April 1, 1903. That's what Ellen G. White is talking about. So, the reason that gays and LGBT and agendas coming in from the hellish torch of Satan, which is the Roman Catholic Church, look up that word, hellish torch of Satan, in Ellen G. White's writings and see that she predicts this. See that she predicts that the Catholic Church takes over. Ted Wilson, A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, she predicts all of this, okay? So the reason that we are in a very solemn time, a time where you see gays, lesbians, transgenders, people calling for the coming of Caitlyn, this guy at Oakwood. Any of you go to Oakwood when you went to school? This guy is preaching from the very hellish torch of Satan. And I wanted to tell you the reason why is because we have let down the standard. We stopped listening to Yah's prophets. See, there was another prophet after Ellen G. White, and she talks about it. I can give you the quotes. Write to me if you don't believe it. I will send you the quotes. Let me tell you the reason why SDA will not be redeemed as a collective. It will only be the 144,000 that come out of them, is because of this reason right here. 2 Chronicles 36:16. But they mocked the messengers of Yah and despised his words and misused his prophets until the wrath of Yah arose against his people, till there was no remedy. So this is why the church will have the Ezekiel 9 slaughter, and the people will come out of the broken up house because they got rid of all their principles that they stood on. A house that's built on a foundation of sand gets wiped away by the storm. There's going to be a storm in the SDA church, and they're going to get rid of all these leaders, and the only ones that are going to be left standing are the 144,000. The 144,000 will have to have a place to go, a place of safety, a place where Yah was going to teach them all about the law of Moses that they forgot about. And they're going to get their garments washed and cleaned so that they could be ready for their husband that comes back to get them. And then they go out and they preach this to the whole world. You have to know that there's been more truth that came after Ellen G. White's death, but the Jesuits in the church blocked it and told the people that it was lies and told the people that it was false prophets. But you know what? Everybody wants to see a false prophet, but nobody realizes that there's true prophets. We're in the 4th generation. We're in that 4th watch. We are in the time when Yasha comes back. If you want more information, please give us a call. You can write to us at Times and Laws. You can go check out our website, timesandlaws.com. You can message me here. We'd be glad to speak with you. And we hope that you understand when you take down the standard, that's how Satan comes in. And he has come in and he's devouring the church with this transgender, LGBT, all these lies. We hope that you come to the website and learn more about the laws of Moses or write to us. We thank you.